Ideas, imagination, inspiration, MacroWorld. Here's your host, Ray Scott.
Hi there, and thanks so much for dropping by. I've got a great project for you today. We're doing macro photography of the hand. Now, the whole idea of this is to show the hand with all its character. We're not doing a hand commercial here, for television where the hand has to look great and all that sort of thing. That's not what it's about. It's about showing every little detail that we can possibly drag out of the hand and just show it the way you don't normally see a hand. All with the idea perhaps of having a shot that's good enough to frame and hang on the wall. Who knows? All right. Now, it may end up being a little bit abstract looking at times, or it may be very identifiable, but the point is to show it as it's not usually seen. Now, how do we do that? I'm going to take you through the process of how I do it, and you may have a different process, but it will give you a bit of a jump start, hopefully. We're going to be using some really dramatic lighting. We're going to turn it into black and white. We're going to process it in such a way that the texture and the detail comes out it pushes right in your face. That's what we want. All right. We want it to look real, but we want it to look different than it really looks. Now, we need a hand with character. I'm going to call it character. You may call it something else, like maybe elderly or something like that. Now, if your hand doesn't fall into that character area, maybe somebody that you know, maybe a friend or a family member has a hand that could be appropriate for something like this. Now, in this case, I used my hand. Now, my hand live here, it's not the youngest hand in the world, but it has some character. It doesn't look like what you're looking at in back of me right now. It doesn't look like that. I've made sure that I've got it in exact focus. I have done all the things that I was mentioning before, and that's the end product. Now I'm going to show you how to get there. Let's get started. All right, you see a flat surface. It's as simple as that. You put your hand down or your subject's hand down flat, very, very flat, very, very still on the surface. You notice the light coming in from the side, very, very low, so that we can create really long, deep shadows so that we can bring out all the detail. It's that simple. So I'm showing you this to start off with because I wanted you to see what I'm beginning with, which is a non-black and white shot, and showing you exactly what my hand looks like when I'm holding it really, really flat and I'm trying to almost exaggerate the wrinkles and the texture in my hand. Okay, so that's what we're starting with. It is a black and white project though. All right, now I'm also showing you this because this is the image that we're going to work on a little later on. I want to show you how I get to this right there, all right? And we'll go through I'm just going to go through a few images first, and then we're going to go back to this one, and I'm going to show you how to work on it, or how I worked on it, to give you a jump start in terms of what you're going to be doing with it. So high contrast. You can see the light coming in from the side, making the shadows, making the definition between each finger. I mean, this to me, it doesn't even really look like a hand to me. It's just almost like a sort of an abstract thing, and it's not terribly attractive, but that's not the point of this. The point of this is to show the hand in a different way. So we're really, really jamming the light in there, and we're hitting the shadows, and we're hitting the highlights, and we're really trying to make things pop. All right. Let's move in a little bit closer, and it really gets a little strange, okay? Look at that. I mean, what is that? And you can see the hair there. And the knuckle, and you can, oh my goodness, it's just everything. I mean, I've exaggerated it. I've upped the texture. Again, we're going to show that in the development stage. I just really wanted to, I wasn't trying to portray the hand in a beautiful way, in a soft way. I just wanted to really emphasize contrast and texture, and I bumped it up in processing. I wanted to make this almost like an abstract thing, all right? Again, another part of the hand. Look at that. Now, fortunately, I'm really happy my hand doesn't actually look like this in real life. I mean, there are elements that look like this, of course, but you don't see it this way, and it's not, the ridges aren't so defined and things like that. But to me, that looks like, wow, hey, something a lot different. Macro photography. Turn your hand over, perhaps, and take a look at the palm, or at least part of the palm. and all the ridges that go on with that and going into the fingers and things like that. Oh, there's all kinds of ways to show it. It just depends on what you're looking for. Okay, I'm making a fist here, all right? And on the bottom is my thumb, and then my index finger at the top, and then my fist. And there's no way my hand looks like this. I mean, if it did, you know what it looks like? To me, it looks like tough elephant skin. It looks like hide. That's what it looks like to me. And you may be asking, like, why would you want to show the hand like this? Like, why? And I say, why not? It's something completely different. It's up close, and it's showing part of the human thing. Now, you know, and guess what? Some people's skin actually does look like this, depending on how old they are and what weather conditions they've been in their entire life and what kind of work they've done with their hands. So I'm kind of trying to portray that, I think, a little bit, okay? And then you've got all that contrast. This is actually a bit of a print of a fingerprint, but it's not really clear enough. It should be a little bit clearer. So if you're going to do something like that, make sure you do a better job on it than I did. All right. Or you can lay the hand flat and show it in a different way. You know, the hair coming up from the hand, and you know, that's just from a finger actually. So it's up to you. All right, we're going to go back now to that first image, and I'm going to show you what I did when I was working on it. And again, I encourage you to process it any way you want to do it. I mean, it's your project. This is just a little bit of a start for you. So let's take a look at that in Lightroom. So we're in Lightroom now in the Develop module, and as you can see on the right-hand side, everything is flat, and we're going to start from scratch. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, since we're doing this in black and white, is we are going to just convert it to black and white. So up here on the right-hand side, we're just going to change it to black and white. Now, there's all kinds of presets that you can use and things like that. I didn't choose to do that. I played around with the sliders as I ought to do, and I encourage you to do so in whatever program you're using, whether it's Lightroom or something else, and to get the effect that you want. So while I'm going to show you what I'm doing and giving you numbers, they're arbitrary. They can be anything else. You know, change them to what you want. It's a starting point. And how I usually start with my workflow is I take a look at setting a black and white point. And this is going to be high contrast, so it's just a starting point, all right, for me. And I'll move it around a little bit, but I hit the Option key on my Mac, and I bring this down, and I start. Now, normally, you see, I've hit the black point right there, so you'd stop maybe at -20, but I'm going to push it all the way down to like around -43, because I want -40. Let's go to -44, whatever. And in the whites, I set the white point, again, hit the Option key, and we'll bring that up, and you start to see some of the highlights. And on this particular one, I'm going to go to around 48, 49. That's how I'm setting it. It's a bit, yeah, maybe 46. How about that? Then I'll go up to my shadows, because I want to see into the fingers a little bit. So I'll bring the shadows up. See, if I bring it way up, then I'm kind of defeating the purpose, right? It's kind of like, oh, I can see in there too well. I'm losing some of my contrast. So for me, I'm going to bring it down to around -43, something like that. And the highlights, which are a little bit clipped up here, I want to see a little more detail in there, because the whole idea of this particular project is to show a lot of texture. So I'm going to bring my highlights down quite a bit, like to about -78, something like that. Okay. So this is where we are right now, and this is where we actually started, okay? So let's go back to where we are. Now, here's where the kicker comes in. Here's where you really get the drama, texture and clarity. So let's take this texture slider and move it up. And we're going to move it up to about 46. And we're going to take that clarity slider and move that up too. So texture's at 44, clarity is at about 42. And there you have it. And as simple as that, I didn't really do anything else. I didn't even change the exposure or the contrast. You could up this contrast more if you wanted to. Look at that. But I don't want to do that with this. I'm just going to leave that at 0. It's up to you how you want to process your image and the effect that you want. For me, I just really wanted to bring out lots of texture, almost unreal texture. But again, we'll get back to what I said before. Some people, their hands actually look like this because they are weathered and they've been used working outside in perhaps dry conditions, whatever. So my hand doesn't actually look like that in real life, but I wanted to portray that kind of a look, and that's what I went for. You may want to go for something different. You may want to go for the same thing. This is a starting point. Have a ton of fun with it. So feel free to use all kinds of positions. Use the nail, perhaps, if you want. All kinds of different ways you can do this, but really draw out that detail and get in really close and show the hand in a very special way. Until next time, I'm Ray Scott, reminding you to shoot small, but think big.